All right. Well, we want to thank each and every one of you for being here and coming online to watch this video. Full disclosure, this is take number 2. I hope that we're not going to have any more power outages or anything like that. Whatever it was, send a notification to my phone and threw off our recording. We're going to try this one more time. I'm here today with Pastor R.B. Moore, and I'm so excited to be able to visit with him. He's one of our former pastors here at Emmanuel, and certainly as we prepare for our 75th anniversary, celebrating that here in next week. We're really looking forward to that. Just 75 years of faithful witness here at Emmanuel. And so we want to look back today and talk just for a few moments about his time here at Emmanuel, what he remembers and the impressions of the church at that time. And so, Pastor Moore, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little about your family, where you live, what you're doing now.
All right. Well, R.B. Moore, full name Roy Bryan. I was Roy Moore when I was in Mississippi and came here in November of 1990. And Robert Dowling was the chair of the pastor search committee. He was looking at my resume, standing in the pulpit, and he introduced me as Roy Bryan Moore. And that's what I was for a couple of years. And then our instrumentalist at the time, Faith Alexander, said, "That's a mouthful. I'm just going to call you by your initials, RB." And I said, "Yeah, that's rhythm and blues. Yeah, that'll be easy to remember." So I became R.B. Moore way back around 1992. Mm-hmm. And now Millie and I have retired. She retired as a physical therapist, and I retired as a United Methodist minister at St. Paul's United Methodist Church on Lexington Avenue in Monroe. That's where we make our home. Our son Bryan has married a young lady named Meg Martin from Ruston, and they have 2 sons, and they live here in Ruston. He works as a physical therapist like his mother, and he's at Johnson Physical Therapy, in fact. And then my daughter Bethany, she's married. She has 2 sons also. She became an occupational therapist, and she moved way up to Van Buren, Arkansas, right next door to Fort Smith, Arkansas. So I've got a speech therapist with Meg, and a physical therapist with Bryan, and a physical therapist with Millie, and a physical occupational therapist with Bethany, and an occupational therapist with her husband Cody. And I like to tell people, I need a mental therapist.
There you go. That's right.
We all have to find our way, our place to fit in.
Absolutely.
So I'm right now retired, and mostly what I'm doing is I'm writing an article every month for the Bayou Life magazine. You might be familiar with that. I write a little devotional thought for the Bayou Life magazine. And I'm also working sort of on a rough draft for a faith-based screenplay. Oh, wow. It's based on some stories that my dad used to tell me when I was growing up. He actually played basketball when he was in junior high with a actual giant on his team. And so I did some research on this gentleman, and I've sort of constructed a faith-based screenplay. I got to get it spruced up, and then I just need somebody to produce it. We've got $5 million.
That's
we can
all.
Go from
there.
there.
There you go. Well, we might have some connections with the community theater here in Ruston, but I don't know about the $5 million. I don't think that's. I mean, I get on the big screen that way for sure.
That's right.
So, well, that is really neat. It sounds like you got plenty going on in your retirement and that sort of thing. That's really great. Well, let's talk about your time here at Emmanuel. How did you come to serve here at Emmanuel, and what was we know you're obviously the pastor, but what was that like, coming to pastor here at Emmanuel?
Well, I probably have to back up a little bit. I was serving at a church near Columbia, Mississippi, mm-hmm. and it's interesting, a little funny, I guess I could say. One week I noticed we had a pastorium, and then the parking lot, and then the church. Mm-hmm. And in the parking lot was a tall tree. And one Saturday, I believe it was, I walked out going from the pastorium to the church, and I looked up in the tree. I heard some noise, and I looked up, and there were a bunch of vultures.
Oh my goodness.
Buzzards might be a better word. And they were out on some limbs, and they were hanging over the church. And I said, this is just too good to be true. I've got to use this somehow. So in a Sunday morning sermon, I brought that to everybody's attention. And I said, when you see buzzards hanging around, there's something dead. Mm-hmm. And I implied that the church was dead. So that's how I came to Emmanuel.
That helped you out the door there in Columbia. I bet it did.
I'm just joking about that. They took it in stride. But anyway, I came here in November of 1990 with Millie and Bryan and Bethany, and we pulled up on Belhaven Drive, right in there in that area, that neighborhood near Hillcrest Elementary. And as we pulled into the driveway, Paula Dowling and her daughter Elaine were waiting for us, and they helped move us in. And from that day forward, we just had a wonderful relationship with the Dowling family, but also many others at Emmanuel Baptist Church welcomed us with open arms. And we just fell in love with so many people here, and I trust they did with us as well. And one of the memories that I have here at Emmanuel goes again back to Mississippi. My son Bryan, he was about 5 years old in Mississippi, and I preached a sermon one Sunday morning, and at the end I asked people to pray these words with me if you'd like to give your life to Christ and give your heart to Jesus. And he told me after the service that he had prayed that prayer with me, and so I knew that he was growing spiritually. And when he came here with us to Ruston, he was ready to be baptized. And so we baptized him here at Emmanuel Baptist. And then about 3 years later, our daughter Bethany began to ask questions and then offer statements of faith. And so we knew that she also was ready to be baptized. So I had the privilege, the honor to baptize both of my children here at Emmanuel Baptist. And that's so special to me and Millie, even after all these years. And we appreciate it to this day.
Absolutely. Well, I got to baptize my last one, my youngest here at Emmanuel.
It's wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. It's always be a special place when you think back on that. Sure.
I've got to tell you a quick story, if I may.
No, that's what you're here
I think
for.
It was around December of '92, maybe or so. And one Saturday night, I just finished putting on some fine-tuning touches to my sermon and flipped off all the lights and was headed to the bedroom, and I heard some rustling at the front door. And I went and looked through the peephole, and I saw a bunch of our young people from the church running all over the lawn, and they were rolling the yard. And I think Sam Riley and Randy Braddock and Ronnie Dowling had something to do with it. I'm not sure. I'm not saying. Yeah. So I swung the door open and I said, ho, 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 and they just scattered to the wind. And that night I sat down and I wrote, you remember that poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas"? Well, I kind of plagiarized it, and I said something like, "'Twas the night before Sunday, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a church mouse." And then I wrote the rest of the poem about all that they did to my front yard, and I read it the next Sunday morning to the congregation. And that's one of the humorous memories that I can share from our experience here at Emmanuel.
Well, they must have liked you if they came and vandalized the pastorium while you were in it.
They must have really liked me.
They must have really liked you.
That Sunday afternoon, they came back and cleaned it up.
Well, that's good.
Really
that's good. Well, that's good. Well, I mean, it's amazing, certainly in a town like Ruston. And it's just one of those things, people come and go because the university, there's a lot of people that are moving into town, moving out of town, and the church changes a great deal, over the course of 31 years, since your time, coming here until now, a lot of things change. And so I was just interested to ask you, and I've asked it, each of the folks I've had on here, what were your impressions? I know you talked about those who were across the road from you and coming there to the pastorium and your kids connecting with other children, those kind of things. But what were your impressions of Emmanuel Baptist Church? How would you describe Emmanuel in terms of just the health of the church and what sticks out to you about the church as you think back, over your time? Because you were here when? Now you came in 91?
November of 1990, and we left in 94.
94, okay. So when you think back over Emmanuel, what are your impressions of the church here?
Well, when we first came here, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. In the hallways, for example, there was paint peeling off, duct work in the hall. There was some paint peeling off, and I said, my goodness, we're going to have to work on that. But we also had a desire to build a family life center. And so that's what happened while I was here. We built a family life center. You might remember Mike Colley. He was one that was very instrumental. Absolutely. His father-in-law, Bo Franklin, was also very influential in the construction. And so I remember that as one of the main highlights that we had, because that was a huge effort. That was huge. It was huge. If I remember right, it was about a $400,000 edifice by the time we were through. It was in 1992 or 3 or 4. That's a pretty big building and very expensive, but it has an opportunity to offer plenty of ministries to families for years and years to come. We also recognized that the sanctuary needed some work, and that took place after we left, and we were looking at it just a little while ago, and it's been renovated in 95, 96, 97, now renovated again.
That's right.
And it
That's
looks
right.
beautiful, it looks gorgeous. And
Yeah.
so we're very impressed, very impressed.
You know, one of the things that our folks still talk about a good deal is when y'all built the Family Life Center and of course the fellowship hall and the gym over across the road and the way people came together and worked in the evenings there,
right.
you know,
That's
and
right.
hanging sheetrock. A lot of the finishing of the building was done by church members, and they still speak very. Of course, they talk about it's a lot of work.
Oh, it was.
You know, but it's certainly something that brought folks together.
That's right.
And, they were able to labor side by side.
Yeah, I remember Ethel Stone was one of the cooks, the main chief bottle washer, if I remember right, on Wednesday nights for our Wednesday night meal. And if I'm not mistaken, she asked me if I could paint the pantry to the kitchen. And so I did. I was in there at least 45 minutes just painting away, rolling it, and then sprucing it up. And I made the mistake of not having a fan to blow all the fumes out. And I made the mistake of not having something over my face and nose. And when I came out, I don't know, 45 minutes later, I had to sit down. I couldn't walk straight. Those fumes had knocked me out. And I was just drinking water for the next 30 minutes at least, trying to get my bearings straight.
That's it.
But we got her done.
We got her done. That's it. That's it. Well, you know, a lot of good times and certainly fond memories, you know, that our folks have about that time. And it's really a really, I think for our church as we look back, you know, it's really a great time of just coming together. And that means a lot. Those are good times. In fact, Miss Julia Calloway, you know, is always talking. She's very fond of that time. I think her and Kenneth may have been courting during that time or something like that.
Well, they got married.
Yeah.
While I was here.
While you were here. That's it. That's it.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, she's and I think maybe she made Kenneth some special lunches or dinners, you know, and brought there. I think I heard several people kind of giving him a hard time about that.
That
so
did the trick.
That did the trick. That'll do it.
And another wedding I remembered, you know, John Revels.
Oh, yes.
And
I know.
Linda?
Yes, they're still here.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
I don't know how old he was when they got married, but I don't remember what I said at the beginning of the wedding. But a lot of us have been praying that John would find a good woman.
There
We've
you
been
go.
Praying
That's right.
and praying,
That's right.
and finally Linda showed up. And at the beginning of the wedding, I said something like, we've been praying that John would find a good woman. And let me tell you, there is a God and he answers prayer.
Amen. Amen. Well, I want to know, did he have a pocket full of peppermints
Oh,
and
yes.
fireballs at the wedding?
Yes.
That's
I'm sure he did.
He's still throwing missiles in the sanctuary. I have to kind of get onto it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah. He's throwing those peppermints around. So he's still giving them out. Still giving them out. And Miss Linda's still she's still putting up with him. So that's a good thing. Great. So you tied that knot tight. So that's good. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Well, you know, of course, certainly you're free to share anything else you'd like to about your time here. But I just, you know, what encouragement would you give? You know, here we're looking back over 75 years of ministry here. And certainly there have been ups and downs. There any church that's, you know, been a place for any period of time has difficulties. They have high points, those kind of things. But what words of encouragement would you give to the church as we prepare to celebrate 75 years of witness here in Ruston?
Well, the first thought that comes to my mind, if we can make 75 years, we can do it again and make it 150 years.
There you go.
I think in terms of longevity. And if we can offer quality ministries and mission efforts through 75 years, we can do it again. And this is just the beginning. It's not even coming close to the end. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to say that I was here at Emmanuel Baptist for those 4 years. And our family had obviously a wonderful time because my son decided to settle down here, and my daughter and my son both came back to Louisiana Tech to go to school. So this is a wonderful community, a great church family filled with faith and love and hope. And as I think back on the Family Life Center construction, that was a group effort, and it took like all hands on deck, and everybody who had any kind of gift was able to share that gift at different points along the path. And if it happened once, it can happen again and again. And that's my viewpoint.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and visiting with me today. And certainly, I know y'all may be busy, but certainly you're welcome to come back on the 5th if you can, and you're welcome anytime. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Moore.
Right back at you.